Man, that
Welcome
intro
back
is
to
hot.
another. It's a really good intro. I like it too, man.
It's a really good intro.
I think so too. And we want to welcome everybody back to another episode of the South Star Classroom. That's the ghost of Omar is right there. You know, you can't see him,
Yeah,
but we see him floating right there with perfect
I'm
hair.
ghosting.
Even as a ghost, his hair is perfect. Below me is David Castillo, and I am Charles Cole. And how you brothers doing today, man?
We're doing
David, how
okay.
you?
I think
David,
Omar's
we don't
working
want the
out
ghost
his
of Omar to go. Go ahead, David.
he's testing out his Halloween costume. That's fine.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, we're good, man. It's good to be together, the three of us. I think the last couple of weeks have been like, two or three. So it's good to be together. Excited to talk about today's content. We're covering a couple of different topics. But yeah, we're kind of, we've crossed over that like summer to fall mark. Feels like we're kind of slowly, heading into the fall and winter. The temperature here is like, it's cooling down quite a bit. We hit it like 83 today. And so, just getting ready, for a nice like San Diego winter, hovering at about like 75 degrees. But yeah, we're good, man.
Did you hear this dude? He said a San Diego winter. What the hell is a San Diego winter?
That's when it dips below 80.
It is the envy of the world, is what it is. How you doing, Omar? Oh, did you got the clean shave? Okay.
Man. I just decided to shave it out. Hats off to my fellow friends in New Orleans, where I got this hat from. You can check out that Florida Lee right there. Things are good. We're gearing up to have fall break next week. Mm-hmm. So, man, like I implemented a year-long calendar for our school and for our schools. I love it because ultimately people are exhausted in October. It's like you start like in August, September, and then when's your first break? Like Thanksgiving. So every bit of research has demonstrated what's called the October slump. David knows it well. And like why we got to be working all the time when people want to see us live in for the city. And what that means is a week off for all administrators and everyone in the organization in October. It's actually 2 weeks off for teachers. So we did, El Paso has not stopped raining in the last 2 months. Now, normally this is our like quote hurricane season. And, we see some rain, but for a desert town that receives something ludicrous like 3 to 5 inches of rain, I am telling you, it has not stopped raining for 2 months straight. And I'm just wondering if we're going to start looking like Denver in like the next like few years, man. Like, I don't know if like global warming has changed everything, but we're gearing up for an El Paso winter, which is around 50 degrees. It'll snow about maybe 3 days and so forth, but the fall is just lovely, man. Because like 110 degrees is hot, yo. Like that's a hot ass temperature. And meanwhile, Charles is laughing his behind off because he's gearing up for Chicago winter, which
it's gonna go down.
Dude, yo, man.
Absolutely.
I don't want to deal with that Chicago.
Listen, I appreciate and respect the Chicago winter. You know what I mean? Like I think, as you just got to make sure you keep your steps shoveled. Like you got to make sure you. I didn't know this because I was a kid the last time I lived in Chicago, and then I lived in Oakland. But like as an adult and a homeowner, I did not know that I was held liable for making sure. Because the first year, let me just tell you, the first year I just was like, I ain't going nowhere. I'm gonna just let the snow stack up. And then the mail people said, sir, if you want to keep getting mail, you have to get the snow off your driveway and off your walkway. And if one of us falls, we will sue you. Like, you are liable as a homeowner there, bro. So I have somebody this year that's gonna handle that. Here's my check-in. My check-in is as you all talk about your winters, which is adorable. Adorable. Oh, it's gonna be 73. Man, it's gonna be 52 degrees, bruh. Right? That is short and hoodie weather in Chicago. But I've been on the go a lot, man. Last week I wasn't able to be here. We had our retreat in Miami, and you talk about hurricane season. So I promised my team, yeah, I promised my team a good retreat a while ago, but luckily the way
hurricane season?
Well, the hurricane hooked. The hurricane didn't actually hit Miami. So actually, everybody from Tampa, there was a lot of Tampa people in in Miami. It was beautiful in Miami. We didn't. I think it rained once, but it was like a Miami rain. It wasn't like a hurricane rain. And then we got lucky. Our guys, we got to hang out with Mike Tyson, and that was great.
I saw that. That's amazing.
Yeah, he was incredible. And then I moved the dates on things because we had a very special event in Oakland, so I needed to shift things so to make sure that those things fit. And we have a special person that's going to come on and talk about what that shift was. I think that it's all caught up to me though. I haven't been home more than 3 days in a row, and maybe the last 6 weeks. When I go back to Chicago tomorrow, I'll be in Chicago for a week, fully, no travel, and then that week right after that, I'm back on the road. But I want to bring in our impromptu unsung fourth member of the South Star Classroom. I think it's time. You know what I mean? We got somebody that wanted to say something special to the people. And with no further ado, I'd like to welcome you to Miss Jamoke Hinton. Hey.
Yeah.
Okay. I admit it.
What up, you are not on mute.
Hey, brothers. I'm so happy to be here. I was talking to Charles. He was asking me something. I was like, can I come on the show? It's Friday. I need these kind of reminders 2 hours before so that I can always listen to you all. October 6th, we did the State of Black Education of Oakland Black Excellence Awards. And for the first time, we ever extended it to national influencers on the state of Black education in Oakland. It was pandemic. And so I think many people in our circle, many people we love ourselves, we found ourselves needing to have ways to be creative, to be innovative, to connect, to cross over some barriers, to think really differently about some things, care for ourselves, because a lot of people passed. Like we learned a lot about grieving in this season. And so we coming out this season, acknowledging our brother Dirk Tilson's pass is being taken from us October 1st of last year. He had already set us up to get ready for a January 2022 MLK Day. And he had sent out 5 names: Miss Orly Brown, Avilia Hayden, I'm going to get them all right, Ed Washington, Kimberly, Lord have mercy, Lynch Mayfield, and God darn it, you always lose the last one.
Oh, you'll think of it in a second.
Ed Washington. And so that was the first time we did that. So those were Dirk's picks. It was amazing and brilliant. So for national influencers, we said South Star Classroom has made it in our life. It's just really been powerful experience for us to watch you and witness you all grow and develop. Because y'all weren't really South Star before that. Another name, from our guy Yuri at Artvark Printing and Engravings in Oakland, California. He has withstood parking lots turning into 20-story buildings hovering over him where there's no place to park to really, really go and enjoy and support his business. But every year for Sobio, and it gets cheaper and cheaper. This dude is amazing. He did an engraving for A Black Hands. We gave to A Black Hands Book Club and Evolving Literary Society. In the A Black Hands podcast. So y'all national ballers, we appreciate you. You fed us in Oakland, and we're better for it. Thank you. Keep going.
No, we appreciate you. I hope you can stay with us for a little bit throughout this segment, but it was an honor to be there. It was an honor to be part of it. It was worth it. I'm a little under the weather now, but it was so worth it, and I do it all again. It was such a beautiful event last night. And Jamoke helped lead that and put that together. And I just want to honor her and give her her flowers. And it was awesome. I wish you boys could have been there, but it was great. I'll yield the floor to you all.
Yeah, I mean, I'm honored. I knew the event was happening. And then when it came across my radar that we were to be the recipient of this National Influencer Award, it kind of took me by, I had to like stop, take stock of what was happening, take stock of the work that we've been doing on this podcast. And then also, thinking about how we got here, when we started, and the fact that the simple fact that you all have recognized us for the work that we're doing. We don't do this work for the recognition. We do this work to uplift the voices of Black and brown children across this country, in our schools, in our communities. And so the recognition was very was heartening, and I think along with the recognition for the National Influencer Award, it's made me reflect on the work that I've done in Oakland and the Bay Area, and it's made me really reflect on this past year since we no longer have our dear friend Dirk Tillotson here with us in the flesh, but in spirit. And it's really made me reflect on just like his, he helped me. He was there when I started in this work. You all know that. And so, it's made me kind of think back to that, think back to his spirit, his work, his influence. And ultimately it's what fuels me to do whatever kind of work that I'm doing regarding education and justice for young people. And so, Jamoke, thank you very much for including us. Thank you for being here. It really means a lot. It feels like it's a stake in the ground for the South Star Classroom and the work that we're doing, and we're just going to motivate us to keep trying to broaden our reach and our voice. So thank you very much. I appreciate you. I miss you, and I love you.
Yeah,
damn.
man. Go ahead, Omar. Sorry,
I was supposed to follow that. Jamoke, we're
Wait.
honored.
Thank you. Can I interrupt you?
Please.
And read something? Omar agreed to an interview to answer the question, what is Black excellence? And he spoke to Courtney Ball. You know her, Dr. Cole? You know Miss Tulani?
I think I know if I saw the face. I'm bad with names, but I know Tulani, yes.
But Miss Tulani. So this is Miss Tulani's youngest child. You met her when she was in middle school. She's now a fresh woman at UC Merced. And she is a founding inaugural student of Latitude in Oakland, California. And I asked her to do an interview with the honorees of SOBIO. And so this National Influencer Award, I told you, was the first time we had ever given outside of Oakland. Of course, there's a little factor of Dr. Charles Cole, who's weaved throughout much of this, which we're so appreciative, and I claim you. So yes, brother. Someone said last night, they were like, y'all family. I think, yeah, we are. You and I really know that. We family. So, okay, this is from Courtney Bell. Omar defines Black excellence using this acronym CRSHH. The C stands for collaboration. You must be able to work with different people who come from different ethical and financial backgrounds, because as people, we all go through problems that could be similar to another. And us collaborating is a way of saying, you're not going through it alone. R stands for responsibility, which means to take ownership of your actions, because if you want to make change, people have to trust you. S stands for smart, which means to be able to be critical, because there are always three sides of the story. So don't believe everything you see. The H stands for humanity. And having humility is important because it's not about you. It's about us as the people coming up together and helping the next generation ahead be better, because the youth is our future. And lastly, H for hunger, which means having the grit to get up when you fall and keep trying again and again. In other words, what that means is that you can combine responsibility and hunger and say, I am powerful enough to make my own decisions and know that my decisions will affect my life. This is how you all inspire us. And I want to choke up because his sister wants to be a writer. Omar graciously was interviewed with her. I'm going to be quiet. There's so much more that she wrote. I'll share it with you. She writes a little bit about Dr. Cole being the third host, and she talks about you just being the person that is a connector. It's really beautiful. Anyway, I'll share it with you.
Where can we find this? Can we share it out? Do you have a link?
Yeah, I'm gonna make sure she gets. She and our Omar need to speak. She needs to share it with Omar, and they need to discuss it, and then I'm sure it will get published.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Dope.
Well, go ahead, O.
No, I mean, thank you. That was she's amazing, and she was very sweet and very kind and incredibly, I think, inspired to start her own publishing company and to write and to share these stories. And I think Courtney's story is, in many ways, shape, or form, the etymology or like the origin story of like the South Star Classroom, right? So first and foremost, Shamoki, we're like incredibly honored. Thank you. And when we say honored, it's not just the fact that we feel like our words and our work are recognized. It's that folks like Courtney, folks like yourself and David and Charles, and to a certain extent myself, we've been working in the background for decades. And I think the origin of the South Star Classroom was one in which there was maybe a little bit of hubris and a little bit of bravado. So I'm sitting in a room and I'm at this incredible conference, and I have the honor of hearing the Eight Black Hands podcast just straight up live. And I didn't even know what it was at first. And I was there listening to these gentlemen talk about these issues. And I think Charles was the one that's like, where are the brown voices? Like, we're up here talking about the Black experience. Where is the brown experience? And I looked around that room, and it was supposed to be a congregation of Black and brown people. And David, like, you know how this works, right? Like, you look around the room, and I was enthralled to be amongst such like incredible Black leaders, but kind of saddened that there was like 3 Latinos in the whole room, right? Like, there were 3 of us. And I was like, yo, where are we at? Like, it's a really good point that Charles is making. Like,
yeah, ¿Dónde estamos?
And this is just a quick aside, but I had been at a conference, is it the Charter School Venture Fund or the New Charter School Fund, one of those conferences, right? And I was at that conference a couple of years. In fact, no, hold on for a second.
You just made up a new name, huh?
Yeah, I just made it up.
It's a charter school Illuminati. It's the Illuminati.
Dude, exactly, right? So, in fact, I was at this conference with Charles in conjunction with this like Charter School Venture Fund conference. And I show up to that conference after being, you know, inspired and enlightened by all these like Black leaders. And I look around that room and like, it's all white. And they're having conversations about our kids and having conversations about their accomplishments. And I'm like, first off, like I'm the only brown founder and leader in this entire joint right now. And no one asking me a damn thing. And they're up here on this stage talking about our kids and their work in the white savior complex and being like, cool, like, why don't you invite us to come down here? And then to add insult to injury, I'm walking around this conference and everyone's like, oh, hey, Omar, like, what's going on? Like, are you a teacher? Are you an assistant principal? We'd love to have you at, you know, this charter academy or this charter academy. And I'm like, yeah, like, that's really nice. Thank you very much. No, I'm actually a founder and a superintendent and a CEO. And they were like, stop dead track. Just like record scratch off the record. And they, instead of being like excited and inspired to be like, oh my God, cool, like, we should exchange ideas, they got not only dismayed, but pissed off, visibly angry. And they were like, what? And I was like, yeah, I'm a founder and a CEO of my own charter network. And they're like, oh, that's really cute. Yeah, that was the response. This is coming from, because I can be their workhorse. I can be their assistant principal. I can be their principal. I can be their teacher. I can be their workhorse. But God forbid that I'm the person in power making the decisions, right? It was these two combined factors that just finally, like, I got so irate. And I was like, these clowns are the ones on the microphone. These clowns are the ones sharing messages about Black and brown youth. These clowns are the ones coming in here with the white savior complex. I was like, I ran up to Charles and I was like, you know what, Charles, I'm going to take you up in your offer. You and me, let's grab the microphone, because I'm sick and tired of them having the microphone and talking about our kids and them thinking that they have the power to give our kids a future when we should be empowering them to have their own self-determination. And that's when I got really angry and really excited and asked Charles, yo, what can we do about this? And our little podcast was born. And I don't think that it became the South Star Classroom until David jumped on board, because David is, as we call him, the beard of wisdom. And I think that the three of us combined together to have these conversations is not just an honor, but like for me, Jamoke, it was all about like, you know, if we're going to talk about the power of self-determination, it was straight up like, all right, you clowns, like I'm sweeping you off the stage, like the Sandman at the Apollo. We're claiming the microphone because three people who have been dug into the work for decades, who know what they're talking about, who know how to make an impact in the Black and brown community and have made an impact in the Black and brown community, should have the microphone over, I think, these like charlatans and clowns who think that they know what they're talking about and know what's best for Black and brown kids when they've never been us, known us, or have done anything really with us, more to the tune to us. And I think that's really been the impetus. So when I say I'm honored to receive this award, trust me, it's an enormous honor, because it's recognizing the fact that we have reclaimed the microphone for our people, for ourselves, to have these conversations. So thank you, Jamoke, truly an honor.
How do you want to say, like, how can I follow you, David, and then do that? I don't get that. that was brilliant. Thank you.
Nah, man, I don't know about all that, man. I'm just
It was good to hear your origin story with meeting Charles and the 8 Black Hands podcast. I was not aware of that. So it's interesting to hear how it's all kind of grown organically through different encounters and interactions. That's dope.
Yeah, man, but it all comes back to Charles. So I give Charles an immense amount of credit. It was him who made the call to the Brown. It was me who just happened to be in the room. It was a number of circumstances that kind of combined together. But like without Charles, like, we wouldn't be here today. So I got to give it up to Charles immensely, because he's kind of the one that organized this. And, I know he's a humble man, but come on, Charles, like take some credit for getting this thing organized, man. It's impressive.
Here's the thing, right? I look at it and I think about it like this, I think, here, let's get our brother back up on here too. I think I look at it, in this way, right? Where the 8 Black Hands, it's been a powerful podcast. It's been really powerful, and the way that came together, it came very it just came natural to us because we needed that space. And I'm actually a really firm believer that there's a lot of Black issues that need to be handled by Black folks and things of that nature. And I think there's a lot of brown issues that need to be handled by brown issues. By brown people. I'm actually really good at minding my own business. And I think there's a crossover part where, okay, what does that work kind of look like together? What does it look like if we get to the place where we want to be and brown folks get to the place where they want to be, and then we kind of come together? What does that collective power look like? And understand that there's still some interplay and dynamics that's in that space. And Omar, when I met him in Oakland at the Marriott, it wasn't. It's interesting because actually it wasn't the people that you said. It was somebody else. It was like a collective thing, but it was just interesting because I felt the energy that was there, and I felt like, oh, he got something to say. And then the first people that came on my mind to do it with, David was first. And David, because I just have worked with David. I've seen David get down. I've seen him do the work. I've seen David take bullets from every side of this topic. I've seen him take it from the union, and I've also seen him take it from charter leaders. I've seen him take it from the people that's supposed to be on his side with stuff, and not because he was doing anything wild or foul. It was like because he was telling the truth and he wasn't playing politics at certain times, and he always put kids first. And David has just this demeanor, man, like the demeanor of like he can piss off a lot of people, and his tone, you don't know if David is ecstatic, happy, or very angry, or just woke up. Like it's actually very masterful. It's quite masterful. It is quite masterful, and I give him kudos for that. And the other person, I really wanted to be four of us. And to be honest with you, I would actually duck in and out. I would actually give y'all that space, and when it was appropriate, I would come back in. But Jorge Lopez was the other person I wanted to bring in, because he's also one of those other leaders. And ironically enough, you know, I would say David and Jorge have both known Dirk even longer than I have. And the stories of Jorge and David go back even further. I mean, those war stories were really dope, and it just worked out this way. And one of the other things that we want to do for South Star, and I know that people are like, what are y'all going to talk about topics? But I think this is important as history. Is we already had Eight Black Hands where it was like, okay, us talking and topics and things like that. So I was like, well, how do we be? I want us to be research first. I want us to be work product first. And we've been blessed with some amazing partners with Charter School Growth Fund to actually, you know, David and I have done some research, a follow up to the Black Report. We've done the Brown Report, and this is focused on the voices of Brown, you know, what Brown-led charter networks from the voices of Brown students. And it's actually been really powerful. And now, you know, we have Omar helping us bring it all together. And I wanted us to be known a lot for our work. So when I say we're a resource, a research team, and all that first, in the podcast second, you know, that's kind of what I had in mind. And you know, it's been coming along. And I think that you all are getting better every single day. And you know, and I'll let David, you know, chime in on what this union was. And this is our longest, you know, this is our longest acceptance speech ever, but it's our show, so we can go as long as we need to. But David, I'll throw it to you there. But we are very honored to get this Jamoke. And for the people out there, I had no say in this. I think I said, yo, don't give me any type of award, to which Jamoke rightfully and quickly was like, shush me, and was like, get away. Like, don't, this is what we're doing. So let us love on you. So I'll go there and give it to David, man. And David, you know, Omar and I have become really good friends, and I know Omar has my back. And I want to introduce David appropriately. And I think David has been a mentor and a friend for a really, really long time. The reason that Oakland gets reports on A through G, David and I started together. David did the first one with me, and we was looking at it, and David sent me some one day and was like, well, here go the A through G numbers. And that's where we Energy Converters started doing the A through G numbers for families of every high school in the Oakland area. And that started with David, to the point where we did it so much that we shamed the district. And now the district actually does talk about and put out their own A through G reports. Like, that started with our action. And it started because David did it first. And so, David, with no further ado, man, I love you. I appreciate you. And the floor is yours, brother.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, you know, the work on this podcast and any of the other work that I'm doing, again, stems from my origin story. You know, from my parents. My parents were farm workers in South Texas. They didn't have access to education beyond, you know, middle school. And within one generation, our family was able to transform, and they were able to send their children to public school. We all graduated. And, you know, 3 of us went to college, and 2 of us are working in education. My sister is also a well-regarded principal in public schools in San Diego. I've done the work that I've done. So, like, the motivation and the work that I do and my voice, even with the backlash that Dr. Cole is talking about and the attacks continue. I mean, they're every day. But like, I stand strong in my story, right? And so that's where, you know, my motivation comes from to do this weekly podcast. I feel like, you know, we've been doing this work for about a year, more than a year, on the South Star Classroom podcast. And, you know, we get together and we work it out, and we work really good as a team, I feel like. And so we're really well set up to, like, move into the future, you know, next year, and just continue to grow and build our platform. And I think that also includes, you know, people are listening. You know, we're taking over, man. Charles, don't tell your guys, but, You know, we're going to take over the 8 Black Hands. We're going to come after every other education podcast to be number one, you know, and just continue to grow and build. So I'm super excited about it. Just spreading the word, working with other people, and you know, again, really honored to have received this this award, Jumoke, and for the work that you've done in Oakland. We're going to talk about some Oakland things here in a second. I hope you can stay on with us, Jumoke.
No, I need to jet.
Yeah,
You need to go.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm about to listen to y'all while I get my work done. But have
Go ahead, Mo.
had y'all looked at the work that happened? There's a couple of things happened last night in Oakland, so I'm gonna help you segue into more Oakland and what have you. Also, you know, giving honor to those that are fighting for their life from the Baytech shooting.
Yep.
On that campus, the King of State campus, people are struggling for their lives, and Brother David, and so we want to pray for him. But Lakeisha Young and Megan Bachagulupi, y'all heard what they did last night?
That's what we're going to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, great. So cool. KQED thing is there. I just want to appreciate y'all, and while I sign out, I had to get my notebook and a pen because you all drop so much knowledge all the time. So big up to y'all and what you do. We see you. You're growing and developing in ways that helps us grow and develop. So I'm out. Peace.
Well, Jumoke, before you leave, last question.
Wait. I want to hear what you was going to say. Like, tell us what, from your perspective, Jumoke, you've been on that board for 3 terms. You know the ins and outs of that work, right? And so, like, for you, what was that like last night to hear them bring forward this proposal? Like, what was that moment like for you? What did it mean?
I have to say that, yes, I have to say that female power, my mother's families have, you know, absolute power. And I'm watching, like, being a part, like, from a movement standpoint. I was doing this work 20 years ago. That I ran for school board because people would say it's in the contract and you can't do that. I didn't really know what that meant. So then I guess I kind of came in like I was going to fight about the contract. And then I realized that the contract was really even hidden from me as a board member. There was only certain things that I was really negotiating on. And that was, again, around teachers, adult things that were going on. And it felt for me as a board member, again, I didn't have the right questions to ask. So this is an issue of governance, right? Like, we need to know better, even as we sit in that place. But what they did, Lakeisha, and what Megan just did is they poked the bear, baby.
Yeah.
They poked the bear. And it's in statute, you know, it is well organized. David, props up to you. Because you built that movement. Like, that's the movement of pandemic. Your son, you know, inspired that, and your kids, you know, the hub you did, you know, your family, you took that on during the pandemic. So anyway, all these things have grown out of that, where people are like much smarter, much sharper, much more organized, and again can access even resources and dollars, not necessarily just from philanthropy in some kind of way, right? And just honoring, right, the grit or the work that we all do. So, you know, we're making a movement. So anyway, it was beautiful. I don't know about the maturity of the board. I mean, they're probably just going to say yes. They're not going to know what it means. Administration is really going to be the one that's going to have to implement that on some level. And the union, baby.
Well, the union got
all that. So that's going to be heckin' messy. I mean, you know what I'm saying? And they you know, we're in a space where people's morals and standards and boundaries and, you know, ability to not always be in grievance and not always be so disagreeable, right? Like, you don't have demonstrated leadership is different from that. But I give thanks for, like, women, all of us that are like, yeah, but no, this ain't right. And so we're going to do and look at something different. So I get that a union's contract is about adults. That's fine with me. That's fine with me. There are probably 10, 15 things that I should ensure that I do for you as an employer in an employee relationship. After that, there's this mission of this organization that you actually now work for, and you're responsible for these particular kinds of things, right? Like, it's got to be moved. Anyway, I got to go. But thanks for asking me the question.
Well, thank you for being here.
I'm listening. Y'all, yeah.
We got you. Well, we appreciate you for being here. And and so Jumoke, I'll talk to you later. Okay. And so, fellas, like, why don't you set that up, what we're talking about, David? So, what happened in Oakland? Why is it
Yeah.
significant? And then, yeah, we could just jump in.
Okay. Yeah, and I think, I mean, to start off, this is definitely going to require another show. So we're just like opening up the intro, right, to what happened, because it's a very big deal, and it's going to be something that will play out over the next couple of months. So we'll follow it, and we'll have either Megan or Keisha or both of them on a future show. But essentially, what happened last night in Oakland, and this, you can think about this being applicable in a number of different districts. The charters operate a little bit differently, but what happened, I'm not sure how familiar you are, Omar, with this, is that there was a proposal put forward by a parent, a collaboration of parent groups in Oakland, to demand that parents have a seat at the table as the Oakland Unified School District enters into its next 3-year cycle of negotiations with the Oakland Education Association, right? So these things happen, these are like 3-year cycles, right? And it's like labor and then management, right? And it's always historically been a black box. We don't know what's happening. They go in, they talk about, employee conditions, worker conditions, but we know that, those things are directly tied to student learning conditions. And so what this new collaboration of parents is asking for is a seat at the table as these two entities, the Oakland Unified School District and the teacher union, are about to enter into the next phase of negotiations for their collective bargaining agreements. Allow parents, not like I'm a parent, but I teach in the district, or I have some other vested interest. Just like pure parent voice at the table. Again, these rules, these bylaws, these regulations, none of this is created by God. They can all be dismantled and changed. And that's what these people are asking for. So that's number one. So yesterday was starting point of this potential new direction, which has happened in some other areas. And now it's happening in Oakland, and it's quite exciting. And that's where we're at. And the second point I want to make is that going into the pandemic and now coming out of the pandemic, we see a lot of very interesting collaborations that didn't exist before. It's essentially a school district's or a union's worst nightmare, right? All these parents that like you try and keep and you divide and conquer, that are now coming together and talking to each other, right? So you have like, parent representatives, parent leaders from all different walks of life that have now connected around a particular issue, around student learning conditions, around literacy. And I'm telling you, based on what I've seen so far, it is scaring the hell out of people, and it should. So I'll leave that there. I think for a future show, we'll definitely have Megan and Lakeisha on, because they're going to light this up. This is not going to go away. And I'm hoping this can be a template for what could be, applied to different areas across the country.
Yeah, go ahead and jump in. Oh, what's your thoughts, man? Or question?
No, I think I'm fascinated, but it opens up like a really fascinating, I just use that word twice, can of worms, right? So my initial take is, who's not going to want this? Now, that's a complicated question, right? Because I think if I'm going to choose a side, which clearly I am, I'm going to choose for parents to be involved, clearly, right? And I think parents are going to want to be involved because that level of transparency is incredibly important. What I always get into then, because there is a small part of me that is quite cynical, is who doesn't want these parents involved and why? And what are the issues that the parents are going to bring up that they're going to, essentially either want to keep hidden or want to keep constrained, because once this gets out, then it's a kind of like, that background, this is how we make the sausage kind of thing. Do we really want this getting out? And I'm like, yo, like this should be a transparent process to begin with. So on one end, I think it's incredibly important to have that conversation. On the other end, I think, David, like this gets into a really interesting question of like which parents get chosen and why, because now I can see that becoming like a huge issue in and of itself. Doesn't mean it shouldn't happen. It should, but then it's like, oh, well, this parent got chosen because they know this person and this person and this person. And it becomes like, I don't know, like the Gilded Age. It just becomes like a group of parents who are like yes sayers and ultimately get chosen for this, that, and the other reason. So I think it's like, how do we methodically think about like a group of parents who are going to be knowledgeable enough to have this conversation, objective enough to be part of the process, but then also like transparent enough to then share it with folks. Now, I think you all understand the situation going on in Oakland a lot better than I, although I can make some assumptions. So what do you think the blowback of something like this is going to be?
Oh, I mean, well, I'll start by answering that and giving my thoughts at the same time. I think, one, my initial thought, I mean, this is something I've advocated for a long time. Jamoke has advocated for, obviously Lakeisha, but Lakeisha made it happen. And I think the significance of this one group that Lakeisha has, the Oakland Reach, of Black, brown, working class parents, mostly moms, and this kind of higher upper middle class Hill white families, group of parents kind of coming together to say, yo, we want to be a part of this. I think that that's actually incredible. And part of me actually wants people that don't know the process at all to be the people stepping in there, because then they'll like see, oh, this isn't just about educating kids. This is about contracts. This is about like your kids are not really put first in these negotiations, and it changes the dynamic of the room when you get some real parents in there. I think the blowback is going to be a very swift, real, just a lot of publicity in a lot of different ways about how this could potentially be a bad idea. Their VP, I think he's their VP. I don't want to say his name, but I think, but he came out and I think he gave the right answer. He was like, "Oh, I welcome this. I think this is cool or whatever." And I don't know if the organization will feel that. I don't know if he was just getting in front of it. But
I think he was panicking.
But I think people that are not aware of actually what goes on in those spaces, I think it's going to be interesting. I think they're going to be attacks that are going to come out of left field that people are not going to have seen. I think there's going to be a divide and conquer kind of strategy around, oh, these Black, brown, and white moms. Really, those are people or parents, because his father's in there too. I think there's going to be a lot of disinformation that happens, and I think there's going to be some fear mongering as you talk about blowback. Okay. I also think that behind the scenes there's going to be some very heavy threats to the district, very heavy threats on things that they might have agreed on already that they might go back on. And I think that just Oakland has shown you, if they've not shown you anything else, that we pull for strikes very quickly in this current climate. So don't be surprised if there's like some other artificial issue that suddenly rises to the top that might lead to some type of like stoppage of work again directly after COVID and after all that loss that we've experienced. Those are my thoughts and my opinions on it, but David might have a different perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been my same perspective. It's our public schools or our charter schools, public charter schools, they receive public money, right? Omar schools receive public money. And in return for that public money, the public deserves to understand how those schools are actually like serving the public. It's transparency. It's like anything else. I think charter schools do it a little differently. They're a little more connected, and not a little more, a lot more connected to their communities, because people choose El Paso Leadership Academy. They choose the Oakland Unities. They choose Aspire or Success, whatever. But it's in the end, it's still the same. It's like you're a public agency, a public entity, and for all of the criticism that charter schools receive around privatization and not being transparent, I think it's a wake-up call for a lot of people to understand that, for our large school districts that receive millions and billions of dollars of public money, there is so much, secret backroom dealings that happen, regarding what instruction looks like, or how long the school day is, or what kind of curriculum, etc. Teacher qualifications, all these things. People are not interested in knowing what individual teachers make. This is just about making sure that when these discussions happen around instruction, parents are at the table, parents that are informed, that want to ensure that instruction remains at the forefront. And I think it's sending off alarm bells, because if you could actually imagine getting into one of those rooms, those collective bargaining sessions, and actually hearing what they're talking about, I think it would make a really good expose. That would make
it's going to be
public.
Yeah,
it's going to be very interesting. So
it's going to be really interesting.
I support it 100%. I support parents and parent leaders from different backgrounds, different areas, different walks of life getting together. For me, parent power is parent power. This particular coalition, they're not talking about CRT. They're not talking about any of that stuff. They're talking about basic fundamentals of education, literacy. So I'm all in. I look forward to following this, and seeing how people respond to it. And last night, it's amazing. It's like at this particular school board meeting in Oakland, they spent 4 hours talking about one school that the district has already closed, right? The district has 79 other schools, and they're not talking about student outcomes or student achievement. So I feel like this, if it's done correctly, will change the narrative so that we're actually talking about what really matters from the perspective of the stakeholder, the parent, the student achievement. And so,
and before we transition off of this, David, can I chime in real quick one last time?
Yeah.
I'm going to put this in lay terms. Well, for sport fan terms, right? Maybe you know who Lamar Jackson is, maybe you don't. He's this incredible quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens. He's in a contract year, and he decided to represent himself. A lot of people said, don't do that. And the reason why they were saying that is they said, listen, there's usually a buffer between you as the client, as a football player, and the owners, and what that negotiation does that your agent handles. They said, but when you are the person that's representing yourself as Lamar Jackson is, you're going to hear them talk about you as a product in a way that you might not be used to. They're going to talk about, well, we got 3 good years out of him, or this is going to happen. They're going to talk about you like meat. And, Lamar Jackson, who has been very good and stout and doing an incredible job, and actually is playing lights out football right now, is probably going to get the deal that he wants. God willing, he doesn't get hurt. But the point that I think that is going to make this important for parents is that you're going to hear your kids and you and community in these schools talked about in a very different way than what usually is publicized. And I think that is going to be very interesting to see how people in the union have to deal with that, and have to, kind of, I'm curious if they're going to keep it all the way 1,000, or if they're going to be rocking a little bit differently now that parents are in the room. So we'll see how that goes. We'll be here to report on it.
You already know the answer to that question.
Well, we have to give them an opportunity to respond, though, right? So this comment, I want to reflect on this comment quickly, and then I want to hear what Omar's thoughts are. So thinking about these different parent groups that districts and charter organizations form, absolutely, there's definitely a handpicking, of people, right? This happens, right? It's not a mystery or a surprise. However, something I want to point out, based on what happened last night in Oakland, and why I think it's important, and it could be important nationally, is this coalition between California Parent Power and the Oakland Reach in Oakland to ask for a seat at the table when collective bargaining agreements are happening. Nobody picked these people. These parents, organized themselves and showed up. So this is not a particular group that was chosen by the school district. These parents, these moms showed up. Secondly, it's also interesting that at last night's school board meeting, when people are arguing, against this proposal for transparency, that the regular district committees that should be functioning are not being given a platform to speak at the board meetings. So you have, a special education committee, you have an English language learner committee, and the school board won't even allow them to show up and provide, space for them. So of course you're going to get another group that's going to push in, and, especially when the district is not even, providing space for the quote unquote handpicked parents. So I'm excited about this. We'll see where it goes. Omar.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack here. I think one of the sentiments I have overall is that, and this is a bit of an aside, but I was at a congressional hearing years ago talking about a specific law in front of the Education Committee. And it struck me. I was with Dr. Andrew Benitez, who's a co-founder of the El Paso Leadership Academy. And we're sitting here talking or hearing this education committee at the Texas State House talk for, hours and hours and hours and hours. And the both of us just looked at each other. We're like, yep, man, this train is never late. And what I meant by that is that adults talking about education as if it was completely devoid of children and parents. It was just like adults talking to adults for adults and what was best for adults. And I got to tell you, when I got up there to testify with Dr. Benitez, it sent shockwaves through the entire committee and everybody else just to simply ask the question, and I was straight up. I was like 100%, right? As the kids say, I was straight 100. Is that how it goes? And I was like, I've heard the testimony of this committee and have heard that you all have been talking about education for several hours now. And much to my lament, when were the opinions of the students ever brought in?
Yeah.
When was the conversation guided towards what's best for students ever brought up? And how many times have we sat down and asked parents in a roundtable about their opinion? And I could just see the entire committee it was as if they were just ashamed, and they should be. And it was like, well, I did. And I presented a petition of 125 students with their opinions, much like the report that I'm translating right now that was guided by the opinions of students. And it was just incredibly shocking to me, not only to see that they hadn't incorporated those opinions, but then the power of those opinions, the conversation shifted dramatically. So to answer one of those questions is that would the conversation change even with the presence of parents being there? Absolutely, because you're staring the people that are going to have your decisions directly affect them in the face. And that alone is incredibly powerful to have a parent present, because now every decision and every word that you say has an audience, has a face, and is going to be directly impacted by that. Now, the reason I bring up this congressional hearing is because I came in and knew what I was talking about, but brought in evidence from students. Wouldn't it be pretty great if these parents were well equipped with information, but information from the students, so that they too were representing the voice of the students and were bringing it up? I think that holds an incredible amount of power, because David, you're absolutely right. Charles, you're absolutely right. We've seen those rooms, and it not only begins without the presence of parents and children, we are talked upon as product. We are talked upon in an aggregate. We are talked upon as if, well, we're only going to have like 12, civilian casualties. So we're going to minimize the casualties, instead of being like, here are all the wonderful things that we can be doing. So I think that bringing parents into the conversation and having them well equipped is excellent. And I think that an organic group of parents who have organized themselves is even better, because then it becomes, these are people who are truly passionate about this, who I think will allow a great deal of objectivity, as opposed to like, we're just going to handpick these parents because we know they're just going to be quiet and it's going to look good, but it's not going to have the intended effect. And therefore, I think people like us and people like Eight Black Hands should be supporting these parents and providing their transparency for it, so that these folks behind this closed room don't think that they can just get away with a conversation behind closed doors. Like, yo, now we're going to broadcast it. Now we're going to be talking about you. Now you're going to be in the same spotlight that you were trying to avoid. And I think that there's an incredible amount of power to it. And I think I'm all for it, because like, yo, I think our audience would love to hear what's going on behind these closed doors and have a greater sense of transparency.
Yeah, look, I think, as we move on, I think that, school board meetings should be public. I think charter school board meetings should be public. And in those same veins, I think that bargaining negotiation meetings should be public. And people might disagree and say that we are, you splitting hairs or whatnot. No. I think if you had that same energy and you felt that like charter schools that kept their board meetings closed or didn't follow Brown or whatever the case was, if you thought that they was foul, I need you to have that same energy now that this thing is up there. And you know what I mean? It's not it's the same. And I think that, the report that I just did in Oakland around, I just did a report that focused on continuation schools and how the third most Black students in Oakland as seniors are in a continuation school, Dewey. And the third most brown senior class is at another continuation school, Rusdale, who just suffered a horrible tragedy not that long ago. I actually appreciate and I appreciate the role that continuation schools play. I think they play a very important role to our students that have like something that's happening, they need to graduate, or a pregnancy, or they just wasn't trying to go to college route or get a second chance. I fully appreciate that. But what I do know, and part of the reason, if there was something that said that charter schools was pushing out all these kids and they ended up in this way, it's national news. Well, districts do it too. Like Black and brown kids get foul treatment from every type of school out there. And we just told the story, and we allowed, some students from that continuation school to tell the story, so we can kind of understand where that stuff broke down. When you equip communities with knowledge, it is power. And when you would let them know that that knowledge can be used as power and they wield it, they become more important figures in whatever negotiation is happening. You all have to be literate. You all have to like stay on top of this stuff. And sometimes when it serves you, you have to partner up the same way that the Oakland Reach and this other parent group, these groups of people that probably don't speak a lot under other circumstances, they came together and they're about to scare the hell out of a lot of people. So
exactly,
it's going to be very interesting. When you come together, it's powerful.
Can I just really quickly chime in for a second? This is a weird aside, and I know we got to wrap up the show, but just for our audience, just for everyone's sake, this is a big reason that, or a piece of power that I think everyone should have grasp of. If you're running a 501c3, so if you are running a charter school in the state of Texas, every charter school in the state of Texas has to be a 501c3. Now, sadly, that's different in other states like Ohio and Michigan, where you can run for-profit charters, because the laws changed dramatically for those schools. And frankly, I don't think that there ever should be a for-profit charter in the United States. I think they should all be 501c3s. However, every public school district, ladies and gentlemen, is backed by a 501c3. For everyone's knowledge, if you're a 501c3, there's something called the Sunshine Act, which essentially means that every single one of your board meetings must be public. Every single board meeting of the El Paso Leadership Academy is public. We post the Zoom link. We tell them the location. Anyone can show up to these meetings. If you are a 501c3, there is no such thing as a private school board meeting. That is illegal. And if you're holding them straight up, that's illegal. If you're a school district and you're holding a secret school board meeting, that's illegal. Same with city council. Where nefarious stuff happens is when those people get together without having quorum. So half of those folks show up and they're having, clandestine meetings and stuff. But just so you know, you can't vote on anything without quorum. Now, this is where it gets technical, because most of these decisions are happening behind closed doors. Then you get to the meeting and their decision's already made and they're voting on it, and you're not going to have that much of an effect. So I think it's really important to have greater transparency before those board meetings, in these planning meetings like Charles is talking about, to get in there and be like, what are you all planning? And this should be much more transparent, because by the time they get to the board meeting, it's over. They made the decision.
Yeah.
That's just my 2
man.
cents. And we're at the hour, gentlemen, which is crazy.
Yeah, no, we are. And I am like I said, I am a terrible marketer, but I did write a new book that I just gave out, and I gave it away. It is focused on, it's called Stop Hustling Backwards, and it is focused on Black males who will be the first in their family to go to college. I needed this when I was younger. I was the only one in my family that gone. I had a lot of heartache because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And so this book, think of it as like a big brother of that has been there for you before. I knew my audience. I wrote this for my 18-year-old self. And so that means that, I didn't make it dense. I numbered out these tips, and you can go through it and download it and go do it on your phone. If you're a young person, share it. You can go to my website and get it. It's Charles Cole III, charlescoleiii.com. And it'll be there for free download. And I really hope that people do, because it was a labor of love. It was not easy. It took a minute, but I wanted to honor my ancestors. There's a lot of famous Black writers like Frederick Douglass, Ida B. Wells. A lot of people used to put out free pamphlets of information. And it wasn't just Black people. I'm sure there were brown versions of this, white versions, Asian versions, but I want to make a return to the pamphlet of giving these things away and giving this information away in this free game. So if you do get a chance, please go check it out. Let us know your thoughts. And I look forward to doing our own a pamphlet of sorts with the South Star Classroom, just of things that we know that can kind of help people out. And it would be really helpful, since it's free. Go to the website, make sure you leave your email address so I can get to you and get you your version. But I worked really hard on it. Part of the reason I'm so damn tired right now. So with that being said, I appreciate you all. If you don't mind, Omar, I'll close us out, because that's Omar. No, I pointed to the wrong one. That's David. That's Omar. I'm Charles, and we will see you all next week. Same bat time, same bat station. Thank you for rocking with us. Again, want to thank Sobio. Want to thank the spirit of Dirk for honoring us with this National Influencer Award. It means a lot. And I look forward to us doing more research together as a South Star Classroom. See you all next time. Peace.